few of the others. I felt totally safe in Chester at night, 14 and running the walls. Best street earner was an old fellow who drank too much because he made people laugh. He got a lot of tips. "Hey mate," he shouted as I ran past the first night. I ignored him, but I slowed down. "You stood on something," he said. I looked beneath my soles. "The floor," he said, cracking up and rocking backwards and forwards. I felt like a right dickhead. Then I started laughing too. I had no money, but I gave him a smoke. He was a diamond, he never hurt anyone. He flashed through my mind as I ran, my feet thudding against the pavement. There's always someone worse off, I told myself. Stop being a pussy? Pussy? Like Anne's pussy? Or Mum's? I felt bad thinking of Mum like that. But that's how he thinks of them, isn't it? Woman to cook and fuck. His words echoed as I pummeled the path with my feet. Swung my arms fast, increasing the momentum until I couldn't hear him, couldn't feel him, and the image of Kathleen smiling as she entered his bedroom vanished. I looked up to see rows and rows of soldiers in the yard below to my left, and ones with 10 spaces in between them on the footpath. As I slowed, they vanished. I could feel them, but I couldn't see them anymore. I stood at the corner overlooking the racetrack. Where did I go from here? Where do I belong? Who am I? Were the soldiers ghosts? Do I have to go home to Wenzel? I imagined Anne asleep, curled into her arm with her hair all over the place. I sighed into the night sky and lit up another Lambert and Butler. The silver cellophane flickered in the night air. Wenzel was watching TV when I came in. He got up and locked all 3 locks. He'd had them put on especially. He never slept until those were securely locked. "Good run?" he asked, not looking up from the chair they'd reseated himself in. The room was dark, lit only by the TV and a little lamp. "Yeah," I said, sitting in the chair a good distance away from him. "Want a brew?" he asked. I didn't even answer. I got up to make him one. I got up to make him and me one. "Want a biscuit?" he asked as soon as I sat down. "What's your thoughts on ghosts?" I asked as I brought the biscuits in. "Load of shit," he said. "They don't exist, but the mind is a very powerful thing. It can make you see very real things. They aren't real. Why?" "I know what hallucination is," I told him. "Why'd you ask then? You don't believe that shit, do you?" he said. "Well, I didn't, but I thought I saw something earlier, and—" "Yeah, go on," he interjected. "Well, I saw my nan." "Not a ghost," I said, shaking my head. "But Pat, really there? Solid? She moved the door. I wasn't dreaming," I told him. "Not you as well. Your mother was into that shit, and look how she turned out," he said, looking back at the TV. I didn't know if he meant crazy or dead. I didn't ask. When I was in hospital, she came to me. It wasn't her, but it drove me nuts. She kept asking me why over and over like some kind of fucking answer. She was everywhere. It took lots of pills to sort that shit out, he said. "Trust me, there are no ghosts. It's just your brain fucking up," he told me. "Where are the books about them then?" I asked him genuinely. "There's books about God. Don't make it real," he said. "I got a book about astral travel. Heard of it?" I asked, knowing Mum had told him one day, when he returned, from what she'd seen him on John's boat, and that she'd left her body, and her face had dropped. And that his face had dropped, sorry. Let me repeat that. "I got a book about astral travel. Have you heard of it?" I asked, knowing Mum had told him one day, when he returned, that she'd seen him on John's boat, and she'd left her body, and that his face had dropped. Then he said Lizzie must have told her, and Mum described the boat to him and all of the people on it. He called her all kinds of crazy that night. "No, your mother told me she had a dream about it once. That's all I know. Why?" he asked. "Well, I figure if I do this guy's exercises for, say, a week every night and nothing happens, there's no ghosts. If it does work, I do leave my body, then they're wrong, and there must be ghosts," I explained. "Whatever, you do you and all that. If it works, you can prove me wrong," he said. Chapter 44. "You'll be all right on your own, won't you?" Wenzel stood outside his flat in his leather jacket and white shirt. He was making an effort for somebody. "Sure," I said, thinking he'd be gone perhaps a few hours. "Great, I'll be back tomorrow night. No visitors, and call me if you go out, and when you get in." I didn't think I'd go out. I knew where he was going. Well, roughly. He told me earlier he was helping a friend with debt collecting. I went straight back to the flat and closed the door. I waited a whole hour after his car had left before I checked all the windows. Then I took my shoes off in my room and walked barefoot to his bedroom. I didn't want him knowing I'd been in there. Searched the bedside cabinets first, while taking great care not to move anything. They were white with little brass handles on each drawer. took a mental picture of the positions so I could put them back exactly as they were, even though all of them simply hung straight down. I was concerned he had some sort of way to tell whether I'd been in there or not. The left one was filled with socks and underwear. The bottom drawer had the usual elastic bands and odd junk everyone has lying around. The right one had all his personal stuff in, condoms, old receipts, spare wallets, etc. The bottom drawer had a brown box with an open top and lots of folded papers in. They were letters from someone called Cass. She'd signed off Cass X on each one. I was scared, and so I didn't look further, and came out checking 3 times that I'd not disturbed anything. There was a piece of paper from a flyer or a leaflet of some kind, because it had a plastic coating on it folded by the bedroom door that I'd not seen earlier. It took me a while to figure it out then, and I hooked it over the door, closed it gently, letting only a tiny bit show. I sat thinking for a while. Was Kaz the friend he'd said about? How long had he known her? Since leaving hospital, he'd said. That's a lot of letters since leaving hospital. Since before Mum was killed? I couldn't think it. I wouldn't let myself. I stared at the Chinese monk fighters he had decorating his windowsills and wall units. Why did he collect them? Chinese figures and ducks in the bathroom? Why? Come on, think like him, I told myself. He had a carpet hung on the walls of Nicholasfield in Austria because it was his mother's. He loved his mother a lot and was heartbroken when she died. I only found out why I got back with him. A shame, really. I liked her, but at the same time, I didn't feel a huge loss. I hardly knew her. Why did he keep the carpet from his mum, but kill my mum? His mum had a brick thrown through her window after Wenzel killed my mum in a revenge attack. She had a heart attack and died. Mac rules. You think about it all wrong, I told myself. Pretend you're new here. You're a social worker. If you like, what do you see when you come in? A secure door, clean hall, immaculate kitchen, and a living room that's quite dark but clean and tidy. The man likes tradition and history. He loves his mum. He collects lighters, Chinese figures. He has pictures of his kids on the windowsill. I walked around to the bathroom. 2 toothbrushes, paste, 3 pot ducks, soap, hair gel, shampoo, towels, and a sparkling bath and toilet. I'd answered my question before I got to the bedrooms. Everything is perfect. A clean, functional family man. What don't you see? I half heard and half thought to myself. I don't see put-downs, arrogance, violence, anger, and his controlling nature. What don't you see? I asked myself, again, out loud, realizing I was missing something. I could feel it like a strand of hair on my tongue, but I couldn't grab it. What can't I see? The unseen, the hidden. Something's hidden somewhere. If I was Wenzel, where would I hide shit? Somewhere else, I answered. No, I don't trust anyone, I answered as Wenzel. They think they know me, but they don't. I only ever would tell anyone too scared or too stupid to be able to do anything about whatever I chose to tell them. I scared myself with my accuracy. Everyone trusts someone, I told myself. Who doesn't he trust? I ran through 20 faces in my head and dismissed them all. What kind of person is he? A controller. You're mine. That's mine. I'm the boss. You do what I say. You think what I want you to think. What else? I queried. Manipulative. He can make anyone do anything. He's charming and funny until you get to know him. I was walking from the front door to the living room over and over again slowly. Then what? Well, he's a controller and a show-off. He was getting his kicks, visit his sister to demonstrate how he still had family when I hadn't. He got a kick, put me down about hiking and kickboxing, and a kick out of him having my nan's keyring. He's not changed at all. What did he want with me? I wasn't waiting to find out. When Mum was no use to him anymore, he controlled her. When she turned to leave, he killed her. I headed for his cabinet, with the black bowls with gold rims on them. They were too perfect, seemed to serve no purpose. That wasn't his style. Everything had a purpose. What would be the ultimate kick for him? Why did he show everyone the cabinet and the TV area with a picture of kids on? Because it would be right in front of them. I could control them and they wouldn't even know it. They are all stupid. I answered it again as Wenzel. I searched the bowls. Nothing useful, just paper clips and junk. Was I wrong? No, you know him. I felt it more than I heard it. Keep looking, you're close. I felt again. My instincts wanted to tear the place apart. I didn't. I couldn't. I opened the cupboard door and saw 3 boxes. One was wooden, like a fishing hook box. One cardboard, full of little notes and papers. A fishing license and a black plastic box that I couldn't reach without moving a table. I left it alone and closed the door and then checked the windows again. No car. I'd left sweaty handprints on the door. Fuck, no time. My brain screamed. I pulled the wooden box out. More letters were inside, mostly foster care stuff. I didn't read them. I knew they'd be lies. My nan's keyring was there, and some odds and ends I didn't recognise. There was a yellow cassette tape, which had Bernie written on it in pen. My heart dropped. Found it. Mum had taped her music on it, I was certain. If there was a message, it would be on this tape. Maybe even her voice. I couldn't hear her in my head. I could visualise her, but not see her face properly apart from in my memories. But I couldn't hear her at all. I felt a hand on my shoulder, and "It's okay" sail into my chest. I knew it could have been A1. I didn't care. "No, it's not," I replied. "This is mine. She'd have wanted Jonathan to have it. He should have told me he had it. He said Clive had everything." I thought this. "Whoever said it's okay?" "It's not okay," I added. I stood up holding the only thing I had left of my mum, started to cry. "No," I screamed in my head as I put the tape back. "Later, I promise," I said out loud. I closed the cabinet and ran to the kitchen. I grabbed a duster and sorted out the black ash cabinets and then searched his VCR collection. One tape said Mask, which was obviously a kid's film. I opened it up and found a blank tape. I don't remember watching it, but I know it was of him in an interview right in front of everyone. I was right. I did know him. I dusted it and put everything back, and then went to my room to see if he'd moved anything in there. He hadn't. I opened each knife to see if it was still in good working order, and then tried to relax. I needed to concentrate, and my mind was doing somersaults. I went into Aikido mode and bowed to the closest bedroom door. If he kicks the door open and runs at you, everything was you. Everything was said in the third person. If I said me, I'd personalise it and get scared. I was turning into him, and in doing so, had to turn him into an object. If I didn't, I couldn't defend myself. If it runs at me, I said turning him into an item and not a person. I visualised him in the doorway running towards me. I pushed both hands forward hard towards where his chin would be, stepped right and grabbed the fact file with my left, throwing it at his invisible form, grabbing the blade, unsheathing it in my right at the same time. Then what? Then you get him to shuffle out of the way, do not go in grabbing distance, you leave and call the social worker. No, you won't help. You run. Where? Pettipill. I decided I'd stop a night in Tarvin, and he'd expect me to run to Winsford. Then I'd go through New Forest to Winsford, until I decided where to go from there. What if you're by the window when he attacks? I two-stepped to the top drawer of the chest of drawers, pulled the knife from the top and spun the blade out at head height. I was getting faster. I was feeling safer. I went through each motion numerous times, each location, each part of the room. What if you're in bed, thumbs in eyes, roll, grab the cutlery, chop at his ankles? I told myself. No, too many what ifs, and it takes too long. Thumbs in the eyes, lock knife and bedside cabinet, much faster. I practiced each for ages, over and over, until I was comfortable I could at least attempt to survive. I left the bedroom to judge distances in the hall. I was less comfortable in the rest of the flat, but I knew if I could make it to my room I had a chance. Wenzel's spare coat was slung on the door to the living room. I searched the pockets and found an envelope full of £20 notes, and another roll of notes in another pocket. How did he get so much money? We earned £30 a day at the fruit and veg shop, and half of my day's pay went straight to him for rent, electrical and petrol, even though I knew social services were paying his petrol. Chapter 45. Final chapter of Tracie's story. And thank you for listening. Chapter 45. Wenzel said he wanted to spend some time with me. He said it as though someone else totally recommended it, but he obviously wanted to talk. We never did anything together otherwise, and so I'd suggest darts as it meant it was in my room, and at least 50% of the time I'd have something sharp in my hand. Cass would really like to meet you, he said, taking the darts out of the board. Okay, you'll go? I cocked an eyebrow. Yeah, you'd like that, he told me. Sure, your shot, I replied, finishing our double top. Brew? I asked after he'd thrown to start a new game. Despite thinking I'd feel safer in my room, I didn't like him in there. I felt trapped with less space. "What the fuck is this?" he said, calling from the hall. I looked out and he was stood there with my